Hello, bonjour and welcome to your new Bonheur Private Wines video. Last week we looked at scores for wines, how wine critics and magazines score wines to give their 90, 92, 95, 100 point scores, just tasting and looking at wines, how they can assess the wines. And today I want to have a word and give you some thoughts and an insight into wine awards, how some wines get medals, the bronze, the silver, the gold, or whatever the denomination is, how some wines get those awards and can feature stickers on the bottles which often help you decide or at least influence some consumers' buying decisions, how some bottles get those recognitions and others simply don't. And as we'll see, it's not only about the quality of what is inside the bottle that actually matters. Let's go. My fellow wine-loving friends, Julian here. Before we get started with the video, there is something that you have to know about. This video was made possible by the Bonheur Private Wine Partnership, and the reason I work with them is not just because it's been called the most unique wine club in America, but because they truly love the wines that they choose for you. Founded by Will Bonheur, the partnership is a small group of wine lovers who have come together to import excellent small batch wines that might otherwise get completely overlooked by large importers. They get them. Right now you can get your hands on 3 rare extreme altitude red wines from Argentina, from some of the purest, highest vineyards in the entire world, way up in the Andes Mountains. No middlemen, no additive packed supermarket wines here, no inflated cost. Plus you'll get exclusive access to more wine education videos from me, just like the one you're about to watch, to make sure you become an educated wine connoisseur. So make sure to check out the link in the video description to see if you want to become partner in something truly special in the world of wine. But for now, back to your video. Oh, and yes, this is a very pink wine. Now, every wine competition, and there are hundreds of them all around the world, every one of them works a little bit differently, and I'm not going to get into the lengthy detail of a long list of variations in the different processes. To give you an indication of the scale and number of wine competitions we're talking about here, there's at least 30 or so major wine competitions taking place in the US alone. And that's not counting the smaller ones. There's top wine competitions in San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Sonoma County, Santa Rosa, well that's Sonoma, but whatever, Santa Rosa, Napa, Pittsburgh, Diamond Bar, Sacramento, Oregon, Washington, Dallas, New York City, Finger Lakes, Tampa, and so on. You get the point. And of course there's tens if not hundreds of wine competitions in Europe, as every little wine region has at least one or several local competitions, plus the bigger national ones in France, in Italy, etc., and the international ones that take place in Europe as well. So plenty of opportunities for wineries to get medals. First thing you need to know about them: producers have to send the bottles to the competition and register to enter. It's not the competitions soliciting or buying the wines, obviously. Wineries pay the organizers to get their wines judged and tasted. That's where competitions get most of their revenue from, in fact. And we'll discuss how this actually matters in a moment. Most competitions work pretty much like this. Wines are tasted blind. The judges do not know, of course, the producer of the wine. Generally, they know the wine category or wine style, like Chardonnay or Cabernet, or maybe Napa Cabernet or Oregon Riesling, for example. And sometimes they know the price category, like it's a wine under, or those are wine under $20, or between 20 and 30 or $35, that kind of thing. Judges are generally wine professionals, winemakers, sommeliers, wine buyers, journalists, etc. They are, say, trained wine tasters at least. These judges are gathered in panels between, say, 5 to 8 judges, often around a round table. They taste individually each of them, they taste flights of say 10, 15, 20 wines at a time. And they assess every wine for themselves separately before they confront their notes and opinions with the group and decide which wines are going to get which medals, discussing which wines in the flight were better than others, reaching some sort of consensus within the panel, considering everyone's different palates and opinions. That's how a lot of competitions work. As a side note, I have judged myself a few competitions. I was a judge at the Los Angeles International Wine Competition for a while, and I was involved in quite a few significant competitions in Europe over the years as well. So although some competitions have more complex and perhaps more robust processes, where wines get tasted several times by different people, this is generally how they work. One blind tasting by a group of people, some discussions, and then results. Now, judges would taste around 100 or 200 wines in a day by flights, as I said, of 10 to 25 wines, and repeat that 3, 4, 5 times over the day. Most of the time, wines get awarded bronze, silver, gold medals, as you know. Some competitions have a commended accolade below bronze for wines that weren't quite good enough for bronze but were still pretty good, so they are commended by the competition. Often competitions will also confront the gold medals with each other in a category to designate a trophy winner, the best wine in a particular style for the event. This is in short how wine competitions work. I hope this makes sense, and I hope this sounds a little bit like a good way to judge and award wines to you. Does it? Let's discuss a little bit further. And let's be very clear here. Overall, wine competition organizers make great efforts to ensure the best possible conditions for tasting the wines. That's clear. They make sure all wines are poured anonymously. They order the wines tasted randomly. There's quite a bit of a scientific process behind it. It's quite a serious, methodical business to do that. Yet, there are some imperfections and flaws to the process. First, producers have to pay to get in. So even though competitions often get thousands and thousands of wines in a category, all of the wines in that category aren't tasted, actually far from it indeed. When a competition awards Napa Cabernets, for example, well, maybe they've tasted 200 of them at best, while there are thousands of brands and labels of Napa Cabernets out there. It's just a small, very small fraction of the world of wine, as I guess you would expect or not. Then the flights served to judges are quite long. 15, 20 wines are lined up in front of you at one single time. And you spend, say, around a couple of minutes on each of them, and you repeat that 4 or 5 times through the day, going through generally at least over 100 wines daily. So there's palate fatigue, perhaps some distractions at time. The order of the wines, even though it is randomized, it can influence how a wine is perceived. If a very thin wine comes right after a big fruity bomb, it's not going to get noticed and awarded. So wines famously have bottle variations as well. Not every bottle is exactly the same, while you obviously only get to taste, as a judge, only one bottle of them. Although these imperfections are somewhat neutralized by the fact that it's a panel of tasters confronting their opinions and reaching a consensus. If one or a few tasters fail at some point, others in principle will flatten this flaw. Yet it is not an absolutely perfectly robust process. It is a human imperfect process of tasting, which is in essence subjective by itself, and then debating and sharing with others, which is even more subjective. Robust scientific studies, those are robust, have shown that judges are inconsistent with themselves even under these tasting conditions that are quite tough on people and on palates and on brains, right? Those studies have also shown that a wine entering different competitions does not consistently score a medal across different competitions. A wine might score a gold at one competition, a bronze at another, or no medal at all at a third competition. This is what's been observed, and that's what actually been described as normal. That's what it is, the reality of it. Then, many competitions give away quite a lot of medals relative to the number of entries. You'd normally award at any given competition around, say, 30%, sometimes 40%, or even 50% of all wines that entered. They somewhat have to if they want producers to send them wines. If no one or very few wineries get a medal at a competition, they'll know it and they won't send their wines and pay the fees for it next time around, right? So if you're a winery and you register to enough competitions, given your wine is still fairly good, chances are you will get a medal somewhere of some sorts. Interesting, isn't it? Medals are meaningful, trophies even more, but it's just a narrow sight of the immense wine landscape. It's really like looking into or through a keyhole. Judges at wine competitions only see and taste a very small fraction of the wines that are out there. It's just a fact. In fact, indeed, many very reputable wineries and a lot of the most reputable wineries do not enter wine competitions because they don't need it. They already sell their wines really well because everyone knows, their customers first, that they are excellent wines. So they don't need wine competitions and they don't need those stickers. Arguably, it's actually mainly the wineries that are looking for recognition that do enter those award competitions. So a sticker on a bottle of wine at a shop does not mean it's better than the one sitting next to it. Not at all. And it certainly doesn't mean that you're going to enjoy this wine with the sticker more than the other. That said though, if a wine wins an award, especially the top awards like the gold medals and the trophies in particular, it does mean that a bunch of experts have consensually appreciated it, so there's a good chance that it's a good, pretty good wine, and you should perhaps be encouraged to try it because it is a solid recommendation, because those wine competitions are serious. But who knows, you may end up preferring the bronze medal over someone else's gold medal. Seen from another angle, if a wine you love doesn't have a sticker or a medal, it certainly does not mean that it isn't good or were not judged good enough to have a medal. It can simply mean, as we've seen, that it's never entered a wine competition, or if it did, maybe it just didn't stand out because it was at the end of a very long 200 wine tasting day for people and judges were tired and didn't notice that particular wine. Maybe it is a little too subtle as well. Maybe its qualities are more about the finesse and some delicate flavors that weren't noticed relative to the other wines on that particular day. Somewhat like I said for wine scores last week, if you remember, wine awards do mean something in a way, but they don't mean much in another, depending on how you look. They are limited, they're imperfect, and they are subjective as well. Yet they do have their place in the world, if you ask me. They deserve to exist. I was a proud judge at several of them because they help some consumers buy better wines by allowing trained judges to give their humble opinion on bottles. They allow some wine experts who don't score wines otherwise or write in magazines to taste, assess and recommend wines to you out of what they get to taste when judging wine competitions. So some sort of anonymous judges, anonymous experts help you through those competitions. So it matters. It's simply a matter of knowing how to read these awards results as an informed wine consumer. And now you know. And I'll leave it here for today. Hope you understand a little bit better wine awards. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon in the wonderful world of wine.